I am Captain Logan, and this is day 249 of Spawn Year. This story is shaping into an odd return to an earlier status quo. The main players are the same, Spawn, Clown, Wynn, Sam and Twitch, and it's still about many of the same things: death, rebirth, loss, grief, identity, and duplicity. But all of these people have made drastic changes since the early days. Most of the roles are dramatically different now. The one constant is Spawn, but only in that his presence continues to profoundly affect the world around him. Now that Al has finally come to terms with the reprehensible, self-rationalizing killer he always was, he has a chance here to take responsibility for some of the pain he has caused and use his powers to make something right again. In an ironic twist, most of the other principal characters involved are now shadows of their former selves, and see themselves that way. Whether they were once good, bad, or outright evil, each looks back on his past and sees the person he wishes he could be again. Twitch has become desperate, directionless, and has lost all his integrity and self-assuredness because of the rejection of his wife and now the loss of his son. Jason Wynn has lost his control, beginning with his self-control after Spawn drove him to insanity, and physical control, with Clown in his head, maybe deeper, calling all the shots in his life. He has now killed a woman, the prostitute who looked like Wanda from last issue, with his bare hands, the sort of dirty work he rarely would have done himself, even if he wanted someone dead. Although it's strange he and Clown act like this is the first blood he's gotten on his hands physically, without just giving orders. Remember that guy he killed in a hallway so he could sic security on Spawn when Spawn was chasing him through his building? And even though Clown has turned Wynn into his personal slave, he's far from where he wants to be too. From what I can gather, given what little we've been told thus far, Clown has to use Wynn's body because he no longer has one of his own, and the dead call girl in the message on the alley wall is about drawing Spawn out. I'd wager in some plan to restore his corporeal being and powers. Wynn is the only one of the three who vocalizes a panicked desire to regain control, but that's really what they're all after, control over their own lives. What sets Spawn apart is that he was standing in the same shoes these people are all in, according to recent flashbacks, well before the events in Spawn number 1. Wynn described Al Simmons' last issue as a man with the unique gift of being able to rationalize any action. Al had completely lost himself, his control, to his dangerous and morally bereft occupation, and he carried that inhuman detachment with him into his undead second life. So as these other characters have severely lost themselves and struggle to claw their way back to some semblance of power, not over other people, but simple power to take the reins of their own existence, Spawn is starting to find a better version of himself, not by looking behind him to some idealized version of himself, which never existed to begin with, but forward, while recognizing he has sins made by his former self he is responsible for atoning for. Most of this issue sees Twitch playing Russian roulette with a kidnapped Al Simmons, who I guess he thinks is fully human and whom he blames for Max's death. Even though, as I said before, he didn't blame him for that last time they met. Twitch even invokes that conversation. It was in the same room they're in now, and to further establish Holguin's attention to continuity, Twitch even lists his girlfriend KC, who was shot by the bounty hunter in Sam and Twitch, as one of the casualties of his dangerous lifestyle. I'm still appreciating the parallels in Spawn and Twitch's characters, both having lost their families and everything that made life worth living due to their careers. The difference, of course, is that Twitch's dangerous work was honest and just, and he didn't deserve any of this. Anyway, Twitch is mad at Spawn for telling him he might have need of him in the future when he almost killed himself, but he doesn't seem to remember saying, "This is none of your business." It seems to me that Twitch is retroactively blaming Spawn for his son's death is an excuse for 3 things. 1. Easy drama. Because this Russian roulette scenario is so contrived, this ain't Daredevil number 191 by a long shot. Number 2, a convenient reason that Twitch hasn't committed suicide already. If he wasn't building up a vendetta against Spawn and didn't want retribution, it's hard to believe Spawn forbidding his suicide was enough to keep him from trying again. This willingness to point a gun with one loaded chamber at his own head demonstrates how badly he wants to end his own pain. Though it's hard to understand why he ever thought he could kill Spawn, I think Holguin just wrote himself into a corner there. And C, Holguin needed someone to fire shots at Spawn for the big cliffhanger at the end. After Spawn promises to rescue Max, taking responsibility for his death, and he and Twitch have made up more or less, we discover that even though he still has powers and can don the costume, Spawn is a lot more mortal than he used to be. After Twitch and Spawn's melodrama here, I hope this becomes the story of 2 men picking each other up and helping to better one another. Spawn is furious that Twitch wants to end his life so badly, seeing too much of himself in Twitch, and while Spawn giving Twitch a split-second choice to choose life or death is, I think, a great moment, I love the earlier dynamic between them and hope to see them as friends again. I'm glad it didn't end here with them cutting ties altogether. I like how that deal is like the one Malbolgia gave Al, except there's nothing deceptive behind this one. It's the same choice we all have, to live our lives or to give up. And perhaps sometimes we need someone to force us to make up our minds about that. After what I've been through here, I can relate. Overall, this is one of Medina's more dynamic issues. I like his more ambitious choice of panel layouts, a lot of cutout panels sitting on top of splash pages. I was confused by the reading order in the 2-page drawn-out Twitch speech. You'd think when the picture at the top continues unbroken across the page, you're supposed to read all the way across, like it's one giant page. A lot of Bendis' books do that, especially Sam and Twitch. Nope. It took a while before I realized the balloons read down the entire left page and then the right, especially because the speech is so stream of consciousness, it's not immediately apparent that one idea isn't leading naturally into the next. Most counterintuitive layout ever. As dark and heavy as this subject matter is, it's not without its levity though. I get to add a new silly Spawn expression to my list with this one, Pancake Face. Signed, Captain Logan.